for me, I find it so hard to get really scared or invested in a horror film if I'm not really invested in the main character. And I mean, that is a remarkable thing that she achieved, because she's in, like I said, almost every scene.
First off, I just want to congratulate you on all of Smile's success,
Hey,
because
thanks, Tyler.
one of my best friends saw Smile 4 times in theaters, so it really shows the rewatchability that your movie has.
Wow, thank your friend for me. I appreciate that. That's amazing.
The movie itself is just filled to the brim with tension, and so were you conscious of how it would play on repeated viewings? Because obviously repeat viewings can kind of mess with tension.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think when you set out to make a movie, you want to make sure it's all about that first watching experience is the most important part about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I really love movies that, upon a rewatch, you start to pick up on things that maybe you didn't notice the first time. Sometimes, things are dangled right in front of your nose, but because you don't have the whole picture, you don't necessarily notice it the first time around. And so, because I love movies like that, I wanted to make sure that there are some little things in Smile to pick up on that I think are mostly designed to be there for people watching the movie the second time.
Well, and so the colors that you utilize in the movie are probably one of my favorite parts. In particular, the suicide of Laura in the hospital and how you just play with different colors. And I wanted to know, how important is color to you in telling a story, and what tricks did you use in this movie to kind of manipulate the mood?
Yeah, I mean, certainly color is hugely important. And, that's a conversation that you end up having with your DP, who in this case was Charlie Saroff, production designer Lester Cohen, and costume designer Alexis Forte, about having a real plan and goal with what we were doing. We talked early on about how, at least for like 95% of the movie, we really wanted to avoid any and all like overt horror tropes. And we wanted to see if we could create spaces and environments and situations that were scary because of the context or because of like the weirdness of how they felt. That was a goal that we set for all of ourselves. And I love the hospital. We built the interior of that hospital, which was really important because we wanted it to feel like a real character, but I wanted to avoid anything gothic or cobwebby. I wanted it to feel like more of like a Kafka-esque, like bureaucratic administrative nightmare. And the color palette was something we talked a lot about inside of there. And we loved this idea that like at some point in like, the 70s, that somebody had like painted it what they thought were like calming colors, but like they didn't really know what they were doing. And what it actually does is create this sort of like liminal space that feels like suffocating while you're inside of it.
The pink in the hospital. I was immediately, as soon as I found out I was interviewing you, I'm like, I have to ask him about that, because all I could think was like, was it already like that? Did they decide on this?
No, so yeah, we built it from scratch. But that there's an interesting story behind the pink, since you bring it up. That I had read this study that they had done, and I think it was the 60s, about how if they painted the inside of like a prison pink, that it would like cause the violent inmates to be less violent. And I don't think it was like a peer-reviewed anything. I think it was just something that somebody was exploring, and I thought that was so interesting. And we really grabbed on to the idea of using pink. And
well, I found it very unsettling. So great job with that.
Thank you.
There were some really brutal deaths in this movie. Were you having to tone down anything for the MPAA?
No, I don't think. I think we got away with everything somehow.
Wow.
No, I wanted to make sure that the violence in the film, there's a lot, but it is kind of sparsely put throughout the film, and I wanted to make sure that all of the moments landed with impact. Again, I think it's that mix of a lot of practical with a little bit of VFX that I think really creates such a striking, unsettling approach to all the violence. We were sort of like given free rein to really go there.
That's awesome, because I thought for sure you were going to be like, oh yeah, we had to trim this a little shorter, trim that a little shorter. So that's great to hear. Sosie Bacon is phenomenal as the film's lead. She is so good. And can you talk about the process of getting her involved? Did she have to audition or?
I agree. Sosie's a incredible actress. I always knew that the whole film was really gonna come down to who was playing Rose, because she's in every scene. It's so tied to her subjective. She's our whole lens through how we experience the film. And when I had met with Sosie, I had just watched Mare of Easttown, which I loved, and I thought she was so incredible, and this ability that she has to really ground a character in empathy, who is going through something really terrible, was so intriguing to me, and I thought it was so well executed. But really, it was when we met, we were having these conversations, that what she was saying about the script and about the character and how she was thinking about the story, just showed her sophistication as an actor. We spent a lot of time while we were in prep trading ideas back and forth and constantly talking about the performance in different scenes. And I mean, that is a remarkable thing that she achieved, because she's in, like I said, almost every scene, and she's operating at these really extreme levels of paranoia and terror and fear and anxiety and melodrama, and we're shooting it all out of order. It was incredible what she did, and I'm so proud.
Did you have like a system in place of like, okay, she's at a 6 right now in terms of her paranoia, or like, how do you even go about that when you are shooting so out of order?
Yeah, I mean, it's constantly, discussing where the character's at right now, where she was coming from, where she's going, so that we're on the same page. And then it's about, you start getting into the takes, and it's about bringing it up, or on rare occasions bringing it down or whatever. But Sosie, put a lot of trust in me, to make sure that the performance was where it needed to be, and that we were getting everything that was really going to work across this journey. And yeah, it's sort of just a give and take on set.
With the massive success of Smile, and the world that you built, I have to wonder, is there Smile 2 in your brain? Like, are you churning those gears?
There's definitely a lot of things I think are really exciting still about Smile. There are stones that I sort of purposely left unturned in the film, and certainly circumstances and situations that I wish I could have put into the first one. They're very exciting to me. But I would want to make sure that if we were to return to the world of Smile, that it's that there'd be a way to make it feel very fresh, and not just redo what we did in the first one. I want to make sure that it would be unexpected and exciting, and have all these like new tricks in store for the audience.
Well, and you have a very unique and interesting voice in the horror world now with this debut film. So are you wanting to, or do you have intentions of continuing in the horror genre?
I mean, I love horror. It's one of my very first loves in film. I love genre films. They're things that give me a sense of anxiety or stress, that make my palms sweaty. Like I love those kinds of movies, and those are the kinds of stories I want to tell. And so like, I definitely am interested in telling more horror stories, or things that, at least have really frightening elements to them, but always coming back to a character story that really compels me, because I think that for me, I find it so hard to get really scared or invested in a horror film if I'm not really invested in the main character.
My final question for you, and I made sure to leave this at the end, so if the viewer hasn't seen the movie, make sure that you click off now. I want to know, where did the design of the demon come from? Because that was such a cool design.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, it was something that I had sort of been living in my brain, and I wrote it into the script, very much how it appears on screen. And, there's sort of like that first reveal of its face, and then sort of like the big money shot of it sort of finally taking over Rose. But, I had drawn a very like rudimentary version of that frame myself, and then I worked with a concept artist named Vincent Prose to take that and turn it into like an actual piece of art. And then when we were able to bring Studio ADI and work with Tom Woodruff Jr. and Alec Gillis on the film, because it was also very important that we do it practical to me as a filmmaker. They took what we had done, and then like they're very much artists in their own right, and sort of like reinterpreted it through their own lens, And that's how we ended up with like this final product. It was sort of a lot of people sort of collaborating, but that frame and what was happening inside of it was always incredibly specific. And I remember, we shot that at the very, very end of the film because we needed all the runway to get that prepped and ready to have a 9-foot monster on set.
Yeah.
But that was one of those moments that like the entire crew was gathered around. It's one of those like real like pinch me sort of movie magic moments.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited we got to.
I can't believe it's practical. That's amazing. Definitely have to like watch out for that again when I rewatch the film.
There's some awesome behind the scenes photos.
Oh, sweet. And I assume that those are in the special features?
Yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff in the special features for that too.